Before I accepted Islam, I, like most others, bought into the unexamined view that Islam oppresses women. Hidden away, not allowed to be educated, forced into a marriage in which you are possibly one of 4 wives, these much suffering women should be liberated from the oppression which has bound them and allowed to live the freedom which we women in the West enjoy. Little did I know, Islam provides the structure to enable women to flourish, which the liberal model still failed to do despite all of the efforts of the feminists. Feminism arose in the 1800s as a reaction to the new liberal ideas which promoted equal rights for all, but somehow failed to extend those rights to women. Feminism was a movement pertinent to North America and Western Europe, and, as such, the grievances of women were in reaction to the hypocrisy of this new philosophy, which seemed to promote equality, mainly for white middle-class males. Feminism since the 1800s has come in waves. Each of these has led to some great achievements. Women now have the freedom to be educated, to own property, to inherit, to work, and to vote. They have the freedom to raise any issues of discrimination as they arise and to be listened to. This is a great thing. But these rights were all stated by Islam 1,200 years previously. The condition of women in pre-Islamic Arabia, like in pre-19th century Western Europe, was appalling. Women had no rights and were treated as lesser beings than men, just as in Western Europe some 1,200 years later. Islam explicitly encourages women to be educated, and some of the most respected scholars of early Islam were women. Islam explicitly states that women have property rights equal to men. The Quran and the Sunnah are clear on this. The Quran and the Sunnah are clear and specific on the inheritance rights of women, and the mother of believers, Lady Khadija, radiallahu anha, was the Prophet's beloved wife, and she was a successful tradeswoman for whom he worked. Islam brought about the feminist revolution enjoyed by Western Europe and America about 1,200 years previously, whilst simultaneously not requiring her to change her essential self and allowing her to be a woman, something that Western feminism has failed to achieve. So if this is the case, what is the problem? Why is the general feeling that Muslim women are oppressed? Firstly, it is true to say there is no Islamic country that applies Islamic law without error. If pre-existing customs and cultures are held onto too closely, they will continue to restrict women's rights despite the empowerment that Islam insists upon. Secondly, when colonialists moved in, they replaced Islamic law with European laws, which took away, for example, the inheritance rights of women. This was found in many countries, and when these countries then gained their independence, the European laws remained. Thirdly, and most interestingly, is the attempt at modernising Islam. The Saudi Wahhabi movement deliberately sought to modernise Islam under a Western model. They created a central religious authority, removing the possibility which had always been a check and balance of various interpretations. This removed the flexibility, eliminated female scholarly influence, disallowed female judges, and removed the female voice from the public arena. It has brought with it capitalism, and on all levels, just like other modern systems, is set up to exploit. The only real difference between this model and the Western liberal model is a Western model of allowing democracy, that is people rule, and the Saudi view that God rules, that is a theocracy. Western European powers have supported and endorsed this authoritarian modernist model and helped to spread it across the world. The visibility of this movement in the West is clear. When the Western mind thinks Islam, it thinks of this. It does not think of the reality or the truth of Islam. Before it began to meet with decay after the influence brought by colonialism and the flood of gold into Western Europe, the Ottoman Empire was a reasonable representation of an Islamic system of governance. In this system, women had rights as according to the Sharia. When Turkey became a republic, it granted women the right to vote well before other European powers. In the Western world now, alhamdulillah, finally women are allowed to work, vote, own property and be educated, but, as is typical with a modern model, there is no limitation of how far that will progress. The Western middle-class model for women is that they may or may not get married, and if they do, they will probably not do so until 30, and then may well struggle to have children. It isn't easy to have children after 30, but that is the Western model for women. The social norm based on feminist principles takes away from you the chance of motherhood, but you don't realise it until you get there. The menopause is another natural, albeit difficult part of the journey, which is definitive for women. It's not an illness to be masked, it is part of our femininity. Women should be able to embrace this change with understanding and dignity, but the pressures applied by work mean that where many women feel pressured to take hormone replacements so that they can pretend it isn't happening. Young women raised on the spirit of competition, synonymous with liberalism, find themselves in an endless battle to look more beautiful and to have better bodies, which they are then told they should parade for others. No one likes this game, and it causes so much angst for young people when they could be worrying about things which really matter. Western women are taught that they are lucky because they can marry for love and can marry who they want. Not only is this an unmanageable task for all but the extremely lucky, they have such a long list and such high expectations that they can never be satisfied. And those who have less to recommend themselves, those who are less beautiful, less confident, less educated, less sassy, can only be losers. Yet again, the liberal model, which extols the virtues of freedom, is a dog-eat-dog model and leads to the exploitation of the weak. The ironic thing is that all Western women would hear this list and agree with it, but they've been trained to look at Muslim women and pity them for their lack of choices. It's not a pity based on thoughtfulness, it's brainwashing. Marrying young and having children, perhaps being a stay-at-home mum if you want to, covering and being modest and being guided by the people who know you best to find a suitable rather than a perfect marriage partner. These are all things that are usual Islamic practices which protect and support all women from exploitation, not just the best ones. They allow women to be women, while still allowing them full opportunities to engage meaningfully in all aspects of life. In the UK, more than twice the number of reverts are female, and in the US, 4 times the number of reverts are female. The pressure on women in these supposedly enlightened countries is just far too much, and completely overlooks the female condition, requiring her to become something she is not. This is not a system that favours or likes women. The headlines about Muslims look bleak for the Western woman who has not critiqued her own situation and the situation of all the other women under her system, and who insists on viewing the condition of Muslim women from her own perspective. To understand, we need to take a new lens. We need to lay the old lens aside. And if we do, only then will we see.